Hello, and welcome to Module 7, Leader Responsibility for Youth Protection. This is our final module in the Youth Protection Training Series. This is an overview of today's session, its objective, and the topics that will be covered. Our objective will be to clarify the roles and empower you to take action when abuse is observed or suspected. We will quickly review appropriate, inappropriate, and harmful behaviors. These have been discussed in several modules before. Strong policies not only protect the girls, but also protect leaders by setting precedent, establishing expectation, and creating appropriate boundaries that are understood by everybody. There are many kinds of offenders, with a variety of legal and psychological definitions. However, these three broad categories summarize those of which we should be most aware. Most maltreatment will be perpetrated by individuals in the first two categories. Abusers are known to their victims 93% of the time. Although the term pedophile specifically refers to the sexual preference for prepubescent children, it is commonly used by the general public to refer to any sexual interest in minors below the age of consent. Situational offenders are impaired either temporarily or permanently by illness, drugs, alcohol, or other circumstances that affect their judgment. Sadistic predators prey on the most vulnerable. Once a youth is enmeshed in the relationship, the perpetrator uses a variety of techniques to persuade the youth. In a typical scenario, the perpetrator will tell the youth that she knew that what she was doing was inappropriate or wrong, and thus she will also be in trouble if she tells. By then, the youth is well in over her head. Predators skillfully start relationships appropriately and escalate to entrap their victims. What appears to start out innocently grows into something well beyond what someone can handle at that age. Any of these violations may ultimately lead to threats that the youth will get into trouble, or that the youth or a loved one may be harmed if she would tell. Look for patterns of behavior rather than a single incident. However, if any one incident raises significant suspicion or concern, it should not be ignored. Child grooming is mainly a practice of pedophiles or preferential perpetrators who anticipate and plan their activities, often in great detail. Situational offenders typically lack good judgment in an opportune situation and do not usually strategize. Molesters are skillful in avoiding being caught. They establish trusting relationships with families or leaders where youth gather. They use excessively inappropriate comments and behaviors, so deliberately manipulative that abuse will be well underway before the victim realizes it. They may offer inducements to encourage compliance and then resort to threats and blame to ensure secrecy. This is merely a representative list of possible behavioral clues. Look for patterns of behavior or significant behavioral changes rather than an occasional or isolated incident. An emotional reaction may be hasty. This is the time to concentrate on safety and problem solving. Respond and not overreact. Handling disclosure takes clear thinking. Emotional reactions ramp up the drama and create confusion for everyone. In sexual abuse cases within organizations, people often saw things that made them uncomfortable, but they weren't sure why. Pay attention to the signs. Use your IWORK policy and our jurisdictional guidelines in Pennsylvania to know when to report. Remember, in Pennsylvania, you are a mandated reporter as a volunteer, and you are required to report any suspected abuse. It is best to be forthright with your observations. Approach it as a teaching moment, especially with new volunteers. Remain friendly and helpful. Acknowledge that they may not yet know expectations. Be discreet, respect privacy, and maintain confidentiality. It's important for the girls to have a support system of trusted adults with whom they can discuss issues. Inappropriate actions can often be handled with discreet conversation regarding proper behaviors or the perception of impropriety. Be prepared and observant. Take opportunities to learn and to plan. Verify particulars of policy and practice with your Supreme Inspector in advance of needing to know. Always report concerns to Rainbow leadership. Never hesitate to act when you observe any danger to anyone in your group. You will probably never see abuse occur, so it's doubly important to be aware of signs of red flags and any attempts to avert policy and procedures or the code of conduct. Remember to keep personal information about girls confidential. It's one thing to report concerns to the person in authority over you, but it is something else to discuss the matter with other volunteers or girls. As always, here is the list of our national resources. You can always look online for resources specific to Pennsylvania. If you have any questions about this module or any of the modules that you have seen before, you can always ask your board chair, Mrs. Snedden, or myself. Karen's information at IORG is also here for you. That concludes the modules for our youth protection training. Thank you all for volunteering.